Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be covering the basic overview of an array. We won't be diving deep into the theory part as our end goal is to learn how to implement this into the coding questions. Right? Alright then let's start with it. So the reason we are starting with array is because it is not only the most simplest data structure, but it is also used to implement the advanced data structures like lists, stacks, queues, heaps, and etc. And by the way, we will be covering all these data structures as part of our must-do series. The array is just the beginning. Okay, so let's start with the definition. What is an array? Array is a data structure that contains a group of elements, and these elements, right, they need to be of the same data type. This is like the most classic definition of array. So now let's actually talk about why array was required. We need to get a better understanding of array. We need to see like why exactly it came. So it's very simple. If I ask you to collect the roll number of 1,000 people, how will you do it? Since you don't know array, you will have to create 1,000 variables, and on top of that, you'll have to remember the name of all those variables to access them. But what array says, it says that how about you create me with a size of 1,000 and a data type of int. I'm assuming roll number is an int, okay? And this way, you'll only have to remember my name and you can access any of my data, even randomly. By the way, random access is a very special property of array. You will really miss it when we reach to the linked list. Okay. So now let's actually take a look at array. Right? How exactly does it look? So I'll be drawing, let's say, a size 5 int array. Okay. So this is your classic array. It has 5 elements: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, how? Okay, let's for the sake of simplicity, I'll call it A. Okay. Now, I told you, right? You just need to remember the name of the array, that is A, but how exactly do you access them? So that is when the property of indexing comes in. These blocks, do you see, right? That this one is in a block, two is in a block, three is in a block. So these all have an index name to them. By the way, the indexing of array, it always starts from 0 and it reaches till n minus 1. From n, I mean the number of elements. Here we know that n is equal to 5. So the indexing will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, let's say you want to access the third element, right? So how exactly will you access it? Very simple. Just say the name of the array and then the number you want to, and then the element you want to access. The third element, right? But the index 6 starts from 0. So you'll have to subtract 1 from it. And then if you say you want to access the second index of the array, it will give you the third element. And right now the value will be 3. It's as simple as that. You can access any element of it. Okay, so the previous example that I took was, let's say, 1,000 roll numbers, right? If I ask you that give me the roll number of the 50th person, how will you give it to me? You'll say give me A with 50, then the one number I want to access minus 1. So if I access the A49, I'll get the roll number of the 50th person. So we have covered the indexing part. It goes from 0 to n minus 1. We sort of know how to access the elements. Now let's actually try to code it a bit. And plus one thing, I have recently started using this printf thing, so I'm not really comfortable with it. So please try to bear my handwriting for a few times till I get a bit better with it. Alright, now let's move to the coding part. We'll probably code this array in C++ and Java and Python. But the thing is, in Python, it's actually a list form, and that is something I was planning to cover later. But still, I'll actually just give you a brief of how exactly we write the list in Python, because all of these are pretty same. Okay, now let's move to the coding part. We'll start with C++. Okay, how do we initialize an array in C++? Very simple. State your data type. For now, it's integer. State the name of the array. It's A right now, and the size of the array, right? How many number of elements you want to store in the array. Right now, let's say 5. And then you initialize the array. So I will initialize it at the very beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now let's try to print it and see if it actually gets printed or not. I mean, the value does get stored or not. and this will also help us to understand how do we exactly access the array. So I less than 5, as we have only 5 elements, and then I plus plus, and then you go cout a of I, enter, right? So basically 1 2 3 4 5 got printed, right? It means that we're done with this. Great. uh Now how do we, now can we actually update the value of array? You say that I want to update the second index, right? How do you do that? You say okay, a and 2, and you want to update it to, like, say 7, right? Now if I print it, it will get printed in the order 1 2 7 4 5, right? This is how you can simply update the value of an array. And right now you can see that I have initialized the array at the very beginning, but I mean I haven't put the value at the very beginning while while I'm declaring it. But that is not a given. You can, there's no necessary to do it here. You say that okay, I've created an array of size 5. Right now all those 5, the 5 blocks we saw, they will contain garbage value. If I actually print it right now, the only value that I will see that has some meaning to it will be the second index, that is the 7 value. Rest of them will be garbage. Let me just print it and show it to you once. Okay, so you can see that all of the 0 1 and the 4 and 5 indices have the garbage value. They're not of any use to us. So this is very simple. What else you can do is, maybe you can run a loop, right? You can run a loop and you can try to input that value from user. C in a of I, if I, sorry, my bad, C in a of I, if I do this, what will happen is all your indices will, the data will get collected from the user will input it, right? So this is how you basically try to initialize and access and update your values in C++. Cool. If you have any other questions regarding C++ in arrays, please feel free to put it down in the comment section. Now let's move to the Java part. In Java, how do we declare the array? How do we initialize it? You say the name of the, you say the data type of the array you want to create, then give it a square bracket, name of your array, and then new int and the size of the array. For now, let's say 5. The new will help us in allocating the memory to these 5, to the let's say the 5 integers. Okay, and now you can simply put the value of, let's say, a equals to 0 1, and then a equals, the second index will have the value of 4, and yeah, we're done. Now if you want to print it, let's do that. By the way, since I haven't really filled up all the indices, let's see what exactly get printed here. In C++, we saw that the garbage value got printed. Let's see what happens now. Okay, I think we can use the function length here, and then I'll go I++, and then system.out print, and then you can actually, let's say a of I think, yeah. Now let's try to run this. Okay, I missed it, my bad. So here you can see, unlike your C++, what happened here is, unlike C++, the indices which I did not update, they had an initial value of 0, right? In C++, it had a garbage value. So this is actually how you initialize a value in Java, right? Everything else is similar. You can just take you can take the input from aleph, and you can take everything else is just the same. You can update the values. If I make this a2, sorry, if I again put some value in the a2, it will update it. Now instead of 4, it will print 5, right? And you can take the input from user, you can perform any action on this. So this is basically how you use your array in Java. Alright, okay, so in Python, how do you initialize your list? You don't need to mention any data type, you don't need to mention the size, nothing. Python can even be considered as like this cheat code of coding languages. Earlier it was I mean, all of the examinations did not allow Python as a programming language, but now they do, right? Even I did my placement with only Python. I'm actually the most comfortable with this because it's the easiest one. So what you have to do is you have an array A, the size 1, 2, and 3, and then you print it, and you are done. That is all you need to know in Python, right? But the thing is now, the Python lists are not your traditional arrays. Why? Because I mentioned earlier in the definition of array, right, that it requires you to have the same data types in the group of elements. But in Python, you can even have a string, man. It will allow you. That is why we call them list and not array. And this is actually also why I was not really focusing on your lists while covering the array. Alright, so this concludes the topic of array. In this video, we have learned what exactly is an array, why was it required, how do you create it, how do you access it, how do you update it, right? And from the next video onwards, we will be attempting the array questions. We have a great list of questions that have even been asked in the FAANG companies, maybe not entirely, but for definitely a sub part of the question, right? So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. And by the way, if you have any question, feel free to ask them in the comment section. I'll try my best to reply them. Thank you.